How does the law of assumption link in with science? Quantum physics ties in perfectly with the idea that we are the architects of our reality. To understand how quantum physics supports the law of assumption, let's take a quick journey through the history of science over the last few centuries. For centuries, scientists believed that although the 3D world of matter affects the mind does not affect the 3D world. Descartes, the 17th century French philosopher and mathematician, and an important figure in the emergence of modern science, had a lot to do with this idea. Descartes believed in a mechanistic model of the universe, that the universe has predictable laws and operates with mathematical precision. Descartes also argued that the human mind was not part of this universe. It didn't seem to operate according to these predictable laws, and therefore it could not be subject to scientific exploration. Descartes felt the mind was the domain of religion, not science. So according to Descartes, mind and matter were separate. Isaac Newton, the English scientist and mathematician, further reinforced these ideas of a mechanistic universe. His experiments proved that there were laws, like the laws of gravitation and motion, which enabled us to calculate and predict how the physical world operates. Since according to Newton, the universe was made up of solid matter and operated according to mechanistic principles, it could not be affected by the human mind. This classical model of Newtonian physics was undermined when Einstein came onto the scene and produced the equation E=mc2, which meant that as far as physics was concerned, energy and matter were interchangeable. Prior to this, science saw energy and matter as two separate things. Next, scientists used particle accelerators to break atoms down into smaller parts called subatomic particles and found that the parts that make up atoms, e.g. electrons and protons, were not at all solid, as was previously believed. Atoms were composed of energy. What seemed like physical matter was actually made up of non-physical energy and information. Quantum experiments showed that electrons existed simultaneously in a whole range of probabilities or possibilities in a field of energy. And when an observer placed their attention on a location of an electron, the electron would appear. Particles only appeared in reality when they were observed. This was known as the observer effect. And these subatomic particles, such as electrons, make up everything that exists. Quantum physics has shown that Descartes was wrong. Mind and matter are not totally separate, because the mind can create measurable changes to the physical world through observation. This also means that we can use our minds and thoughts to observe a potential reality, and collapse something from a probability wave into a particle through our attention on it. In this way, we can control the experiences that show up in our lives and choose our life by design, not by default. This is exactly what the law of assumption teaches. The placebo effect. The placebo effect is the phenomenon whereby there is a belief that some kind of treatment or substance is going to lead to a positive outcome in one's health. And when the treatment or substance is taken, it has the expected positive outcome, in spite of the fact that it was a sham treatment. There have been over 2,000 scientific papers published about the placebo effect, which show that the placebo effect is a real phenomenon. In pharmaceutical research, the placebo-controlled study is used due to the fact that in clinical trials, around 1/3 of the positive changes in participants' health are considered to be the result of the placebo effect. This means that people who are given a sugar pill in a clinical trial, and told that it is a real medication, will sometimes have the expected positive health outcome, even though the substance they were given was not a real treatment. The placebo-controlled study means that when a treatment or medication is being developed, it needs to be effective at a higher rate than the placebo in order to be considered effective at all. Let's have a look at one of the interesting studies that have proved the placebo effect. One landmark study on the placebo effect from 2002 showed that patients with osteoarthritis of the knee improved their condition equally well, whether they received a sham surgery or whether they received a genuine surgery involving arthroscopic debridement or lavage, which is a surgery to remove broken down pieces of cartilage or tissue to help improve movement and pain in people with arthritis. So, in the sham surgery, their knee was opened up, as if it was about to be operated on, but nothing else was done to it. Those patients were told they received the real surgery. The outcome for the sham surgery, i.e. patients improving, was the same as the actual knee surgery. Dr. Joe Dispenza in his book, You Are the Placebo, talks about cases where terminally ill patients live according to their prognoses, even if it has been later found that there was a medical error and they actually had no terminal illness. This is known as the nocebo effect. In particular, he recounts a story about Sam Lond, a retired shoe salesman from St. Louis in the 1970s. Sam Lond was misdiagnosed with esophageal and liver cancer, and died several months later, apparently from this cancer. After he died, an autopsy revealed that there was actually no cancer in his esophagus. He had a couple of tiny cancerous spots on his liver and lung, but these were minor and not enough to kill him. The physician who treated Sam Lond, Dr. Clifton Meader, believed Lond died because everyone in his environment, including himself, believed that he was going to die within months. The placebo effect proves that what we truly believe and accept will happen to our bodies is in fact what tends to happen. As the experiments in quantum physics also show us, what we observe and put our attention on is what we create in our reality. But in order for something to manifest in our reality, the subconscious mind must have accepted it as something that is possible and inevitable for us, and this doesn't necessarily happen overnight for everyone. This is why the placebo effect doesn't work 100% for everyone who takes the sugar pill. All of this means that our beliefs, attitudes and assumptions are pivotal in terms of how our lives play out. And we have a lot of control over what happens. The outcomes of our lives do not necessarily have to be governed by our childhoods or the family we were born into. Nor do they have to be governed by karma or even what we believe our soul chose before we came here. We can always choose something entirely different from what we have experienced or chosen in the past. But changing the course of your life, or simply making a good life even better, takes knowledge, and also the effort to apply this knowledge. You have to know how to impress the subconscious mind and what that process is like, and what to expect. In this series of videos on the law of assumption, I am going to share what I have learned in the last 10 years about how to create change in your life. We always assume that creating change means changing something in your external environment, and that if we want change, we have to change the external world. The law of assumption teaches that what you have to change is the self, before you change anything about the external world. Change your thoughts, attitudes, beliefs and assumptions and watch the world shift and change in response. This doesn't mean that you don't have to take any action to bring about changes in your life. It just means that you should start from the standpoint of changing your inner world, and then the right kind of action will flow from there.